listen up, y'all. It's the queen of automation, Megan Donnelly, here to give you inspiration. Founders and business owners gather round. I'ma show you how to build systems that'll astound. Streamline your processes, no need for company.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Queen of Automation podcast, where we talk about why technology is only good when it works and how I help you make it work. I'm your host, Megan Donnelly, and today we have the luxury of chatting with Stacie Sussman. Not only does she have over 25 years in experience in sales, but she's also an operations powerhouse, which you all know is near and dear to my heart. Her specialty is transforming and pushing multi-million-dollar brands to grow even further. We're talking like 12 million to 24 million and plus. Boom! I'm so excited you're here, Stacie. Welcome, welcome. Tell everybody where you are tuning in from.
Hi, everyone. Super excited. Megan and team, thank you for having me. This is amazing. I am in South Florida in Boca Raton, Delray Beach area. And It is a sunny day here.
I did not know this. I literally just came back from vacation. We did some beach hopping. So my mom lives outside of she lives in Palm Coast. So Flagler Beach, we went to so we went and saw her at Flagler Beach, and then we went to Daytona Beach because they have Chubby's seafood, which I know. And then we went over to St. Pete's Beach. Nolan
Next
called.
trip.
Yeah. Apparently there's more people. So for everyone paying attention or not paying attention, come back and pay attention. We are also both members of the Brand Built community. And Nolan called me out too. He was like, "Why didn't you come visit me when you were in Florida?" And I was like, "Oops." So apparently there's a bunch of people in New York.
Let's do it.
There's a bunch of people in Florida. And anyway, whatever. Moving on. So it's really pretty there right now, isn't it? It's hot though.
It's sweltering hot. Do not come and visit in July, August, or September, which you just did.
Air conditioning not going. Yeah, exactly.
Like October through May, you're good.
Yeah, I always like to visit in like the January time of year because it's right when it's I've always been.
You're in the Midwest, right?
Yes, I'm in the Midwest, so we're in Wisconsin, but I grew up in Vermont and was born and raised in New England.
So you're like cold-blooded.
So I was always like everyone. It's so funny in Florida when you go down in January, you're all wearing jackets, and I was like, "What are you people doing? It's like 50 degrees outside," and you're like, "It's cold." I'm like, "This is not cold. This is not cold weather." It's just funny. So
I'm from New Jersey originally. I spent 20 years in Manhattan, living in Manhattan. I actually did a stint in the Midwest. I went to University of Michigan, so I lived in Ann Arbor for 4 years. So when I had finals and it was snowing and it was April, I was like, the Midwest is not for me. Yeah. And eventually I made my way to Florida. But I was ice skating this weekend, which is the big thing here because it's a novelty in Florida. And people are in winter coats and gloves and hats. And
this is August. Ice skating rink because it's like 100 some odd. Okay. Duh. But yes. Okay. Nice. So I always have this conversation with everybody that I chat with because I love to hear the different, like the diversity of answers when I ask this question. So,
sure.
And my Brand Built people, of course, know my personality and know some of my answers more than others. But let's talk about work-life balance, right? I don't believe in it. I don't think it exists because when you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, it's all just life. You're either working on personal things or doing personal things, or you're working on business things, but there's not really, you can't separate it. We have, as Darren likes to say, we have one life, right? And it's all connected. So I would love to hear your take on work-life balance, especially because for someone like yourself, you live in this beautiful part of the country where you are able to spend a lot of time outside, right? And like a lot of time kind of integrating.
Which I don't.
Right?
Yeah, so I don't know what our language level is on this show, but I would say it is a throwaway societal term that makes you feel bad about yourself. I do not believe in balance. I think it's complete blah, blah. And so I feel like I have a family and 2 kids that, I dropped off at school this morning, and I run a really amazing agency called Rev Up Advisory. And so one may be thriving, one may be surviving, and it kind of goes back and forth. But I am, like I said, ice skating on the weekend, closing a deal while I'm eating French fries with my son. I am taking my kids to school, and on the way home, I'm talking about why lead to contact conversions aren't working with our attribution model and systems. So it's just one life that I'm living, and I sort of flow in and out.
Yeah, I mean, taking conference calls in the car, like while you're in the pickup line. I don't know how old your kids are. Mine are teenagers now, so I don't necessarily have to do that anymore. But there's just
It's just life.
there's no way to separate it, and why should you? One of the things I was talking about with another brand build group member, I think it was last week. No, well, no, I wasn't here last week. The week
Your
before,
way.
was how, what's great about when you find like the thing you love and the career that you love, the business you
I
love,
love what I do.
that when you go, it's not necessary. You're not taking a vacation from your work because you love what you're coming back to.
It's my
You're
life's
taking a break.
passion.
You're taking like a mental mind break or a brain break, but I don't even call them vacations anymore because I
Trips.
love my brand build community. I love my business. I love what I'm building and I love what I do. So it's so funny because I come back and I'm like, okay, my brain needed a break. It's refreshed. It's ready to go. And, and there's even overlap. I mean, we're kind of all obsessed with LinkedIn and the brand build group. So
Yes.
still checking LinkedIn at 6 a.m., but the kids are sleeping. So it's okay. It's okay to take I guess this is the wrong term, but like it's okay to take your work with you on vacation as long as
You love
it's
what
not
you do.
like it's not you're not sitting there on vacation. Like it's totally different. I'm able to look at my phone while my children are sleeping, or like my computer while my kids are sleeping while I'm drinking my coffee, do a few things, shut it, spend the entire day at the beach and do this thing, and so tell me about that, because you're dealing with these clients. You're dealing with clients who are, I would say, so we're both in the operations area,
Yes.
right? In the niche. I hate the word niche. We're not going to use it. We're both in the operations space. My clients are just under, like, I would pass my clients then off to you, right? Here's my
Yes.
clients, not there yet. They're multi 6, but they're not hitting 7 yet. And I'd be really curious to to understand that, because there are just times when you just can't leave it at home, right? Like you have to, depending on what's
Yeah.
going on in your world, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, so many things come up. So one is I built an agency. I built a consulting agency at the end of the day. So we are a team that is dedicated to scaling to enterprise clients. They're doing millions in ARR up to probably 50 million in ARR. They're doing tons of marketing, what I call experiments. They're figuring out which models work, which attribution works, which automation's working. And they're also doing a whole other thing of like forecasting, pipeline management, lead qualifications, etc. We help the strategy on the sales and marketing side, but then we also bring it together from I call it like a systems perspective. So we have this closed loop methodology where all of these things need to have a circular reference at the end of the day, because when teams are speaking in silos at the end of the day, it's not helping anyone, because your marketing team and your sales team and your customer success team are having the same conversation and no one's reporting any of the data points. So I have a team that does this enterprise. I also have built out a team that does scaling to millions. So I would say we have clients that we're talking to that are doing like 1 to 5, 1 to 3 million. And that's a different engine than a $30 million ARR business. And so the automations, the systems, the strategy, the marketing, the sales, it's just going to be a pared down. I commented on your LinkedIn, KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Yes.
It's a pared down KISS of what you would
I love
do
it.
from an
I love it.
enterprise perspective.
I absolutely love that. And I was just trying to be nice the other day. I say keep stupid simple, or keep it simple stupid all the time, but then I was like, I'm just going to reverse the last two words, because I feel like I've been pushing the line a little bit with Facebook. Good Lord.
LinkedIn.
Lately, I've been doing a little bit more cheeky, a little bit more, and I've been having these like comment wars with our good friend Josh, and so I'm like, I should just try to not. But you know what? I don't care anymore. Like, I'm just gonna do what I do because that's what people respond to. So,
at the end of the day, it's business transformation. I'll say at the end of the day, we're getting you from 1 million to 30 million. I mean, that leap is really big, but your growth is stagnant. You're not maximizing your sales. You're not maximizing your operations. You're not maximizing your revenue. You're literally, your hair's on fire, like figuratively. I have images on my LinkedIn post, and I'm like, there has to be a better way, because you got here by gut and luck and pulling it together with band-aids, but to get you to those next revenue inflection points is not going to work, because you have the problems you're seeing now, but there's a whole host of, I call them like these tsunami problems, that is kind of brewing in the background. And if you don't fix the now and what's coming, the company essentially topples over at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that for a second. This is a great segue. Well, it's a great segue into actually talking about operations. I would love to talk with you about this, especially because you're doing the same thing that I'm doing, just at that next level. Let's talk about operations specifically. And what do you, when you're looking at let's talk about the different levels. When we're looking at a $500,000 to $800,000 business, right? What are these struggles that you think are there versus like the 1 to 3 million versus the 30 million? I know there's a few struggles, and I just want to hear your opinion. I know there's definitely some struggles that are the same, like that are similar at the different levels that cross over. But then I would love to hear what you're seeing the most. Like, what are the executive teams and these C-suite teams of these enterprise companies, what are they struggling with? Like, what do they not get? And I can't wait to hear the answer, because I know selfishly, I have an idea, but I think the audience is going to be surprised at some of the answers, because it's the same things that you should know with a small business owner. People think that enterprise companies have it all figured out because they made a bunch of money, right? Like, we hit $30 million, we got it all figured out. And that is so not the case. They are having the same issues. It's just at another scale and another level.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm pulling up my framework because I talk about this all the day on the screen over here. But I think it's like a few things, and you'd actually laugh, because realistically, and I'm looking over here, it's the same stuff. So one, I think the big thing is, and I'm just making my screen over here bigger so I get it right, is brand awareness. I think you think it would be funny at an enterprise level. The brand awareness is not always there, or at the enterprise level, they're chasing the competition, which is a huge no in my book. Like, I'm Stacie, you're Megan, we're both unique. Even if we do the same ish thing, it doesn't matter. So I would say brand awareness is a big one. I do a lot of ICP mapping. I do a lot of customer journey workshops. I mean, we just did ICP mapping for a $30 million enterprise company that probably hasn't done this in 5 to 10 years. And I was like, okay, well, they've lost sight. And it's like, okay, well, you want us to implement a lead scoring model into your marketing automation system, but like, who are these leads? And like, who are these people coming into, like, I call them like coming into your orbit through, I call them everything virtual doors. So it's like, who are these leads coming in through a webinar? Who are these leads coming in through a white paper, going to your site, paid media, etc. So the problems are the same. And also, I think people forget you have to revise that over time. So at the beginning, I think you're figuring it out and figuring out your like place in the market. But as you scale, your company changes, your messaging changes, your website needs to change, your marketing needs to change. And they don't do it, Megan. They just leave it stagnant for like 7 years.
I was just gonna say that. So folks, let's.
Hug.
This is the word that we're gonna use. It's called stagnant. Okay. So when you are a smaller business, you are doing all the things you're learning.
So fluid.
You're excited. You're motivated. You're experimenting. You're A/B testing. You're trying all the things, right? Like you're doing it all, and you're doing it. And you're doing it, and you're doing it, and you're doing it over and over and over again. And it's in the beginning, and correct me if I'm wrong, or tell me if you agree, I should say, because I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. There's no one size fits all for any business. So what I see a lot is that from like you hit the very low six figures, right? So you're talking 100, 200,000 or $200,000, right? Like that very low six figures to the right up to the 7 million. Good Lord, I cannot. 1 million. That six figure mark, you're seeing almost more rapid growth because at that level, they're doing more things. They're trying more things. And then once they kind of go over the 1 million reoccurring revenue, right? Like ARR, and then they get to the 2 million and the 3 million, they start thinking, oh, well, this is working.
Right. But then everything changes.
But wait, like, yeah, it's working, but that doesn't mean you just like only do that now. And so there's so much where like it's working, so then they just continue to do that one thing.
No.
And then it stops working. And they're not testing, and they're not iterating, and they're not reacting to their audience changes, because people change. We're humans. Our emotions change, our feelings change. It's all about emotion. And sometimes, like you were saying, it's not that the baseline ICP changes, but the emotions and maybe different parts of that ICP change or morph into. And so I feel like they get stagnant, right? Because they find that thing that works, and they just throw a bunch of money at the thing that works, and they continuously throw more money at the thing that works until it stops working, and then they go, it's like,
someone call me.
Yeah. Does that sound accurate to you? Like
100%.
Okay. I mean, I think it's just crazy to me how. So all you small business owners out there, you're doing it right. Don't stop doing it. Continue.
Everything needs to be fluid. So I think after like the brand awareness, one thing that I thought of when you were talking is this like marketing scorecards that we've created for clients. It's like, stop moving the goalposts, people. Founders, stop moving the goalposts. Let's set an experiment. Let's set benchmarks for success. Let's give it whatever time period we deem, 30, 60, 90, like a month, a quarter, whatever. Yeah. Let's evaluate what happened. Let's take the winnings, the shared learnings, the weaknesses, like everything. And then let's go do another experiment. And we can also have multiple, I call them marketing experiments, running at the same time. But we need to benchmark what we're going to deem as a hypothesis for success, because a lot of my times there's a lot of assumptions, but they can't back it up with data. And we're all about data. We're systems people. Run our experiment through a marketing automation system, get the data, and then we're going to say, okay, spend more money doing this, spend less money doing that. Yes. And it sounds simple, but no one does it.
Well, and you know what? And two things to add to that, right? So one, don't wait for perfection. 80-20 rule. Oh
good is better than perfect.
Create an MVP, push it out to the world, and then get feedback, live feedback from your audience, live feedback from your customers, live feedback from people. 80-20 rule. Come on, guys.
People forget to talk to their customers.
The other thing that I love, and this is something that I say to everyone, no matter what level you are at, it doesn't matter if you're making $5,000 or if you're making $500 million. If you cannot track and measure what you are working on,
Oh, yes.
you don't have what success looks like in your
Preach.
mind, written down on a sticky note. I don't care where the frick you put it, you shouldn't be working on it.
Yeah, I agree.
And that would be, and this, what people don't get is this needs to be about everything. I want 50 new newsletter subscribers this month. That's success.
That's a goal.
When you get 50, you have hit your success mark. People forget to add succession and success marks to everything, right? They don't.
Yeah.
They're not tracking.
That's everything that we do, honestly, because we
have a goal. And what does success look like? How are you going to know if you're successful if you don't have some way of measuring it?
Well, if you do brand awareness and you look at your messaging and you're running testing or you're doing newsletters, theoretically they come into a system where you can track. I think opens is a throwaway metric, but opens, clicks, you know, if your newsletter has like a button that like takes you to like a YouTube link or your LinkedIn, like you can track all that and look what the data tells you. I say it's 80-20. I say it's 80% data-backed decisions and 20% experience. That's how I look at it.
What's crazy is what's crazy to me too is once a lot of, and I'm not going to say all, I don't know if you follow him at all on LinkedIn, but I'm a huge Chris Walker fan. Shout out to Chris
you've told me. Hi, Chris Walker.
Whatever. Dark social, right? Like, unfortunately, there are so many. The struggle we have as ops people and Rev Ops, whether you're digital ops, which is more the marketing, or Rev Ops, which is, you know, strictly revenue, like, or if you're a combination of both, which is what I am, is with these enterprise corporations, they're just so used to doing it the normal way, right? Like, and there's so much dark social out there, right? There's just this kind of void that really does affect the end revenue and the sales way more than they're putting effort towards, and they're not tracking some of those activities, or they're tracking them but then not putting as much emphasis on that data, which is kind of crazy to me, because there's a lot of marketing activities that aren't being tracked, and there's a lot of activities that happen way before the sale gets made that aren't being tracked, or if they are being tracked, they're being ignored and not held accountable for the end sale, you know. And it's just because it's been this way for so long. There's this kind of process that's been around, like, this is how you go through the sales process. This is
we're not that consulting firm.
Like, so this is what you have to follow, right? Like, there's an MQL, there's an SQL, there's this, and it's not that way anymore, because here's what your MQLs look like.
Yeah,
and
the customer journey isn't linear. Customer journey isn't linear anymore. Even though in a systems perspective, they want to force you into linear journey. We have sales reps that just open an opportunity. That's not true. The opportunity just didn't fall out of the sky. And so we'll do kind of what I call sales velocity conversions, where we track between stages, or we track attribution, or we go back to our marketing system and see all the things that it comes from somewhere. Exactly. So the customer journey is not linear at all. And sellers that are like, we have 8 stages and we need to go through 8 stages to do the sale. BS, stop doing it. If I'm call you, Megan, and I was like, I want a demo of what you built for XYZ client because I'm thinking of hiring you, just show me what you built for that client. Don't like ask me 700 questions. You can backdoor it and show me what I'm looking for and then start asking me the questions, but just answer the questions because buyers are much more sophisticated these days.
It's crazy because not only are they not following a linear path, they shouldn't have to.
No way.
If a buyer talks to you, and I don't actually call them buyers, so here's my we'll get into that philosophy. But I'll let you chime in on that because I have this anyway. When someone comes to you, if they have a 5-minute conversation with you, and they're like, "Okay, I'm ready to buy," are you gonna tell them no? Of course, you're not gonna tell them no.
No, of course
If you
not.
go through my other 5 stages of pipeline up or blah 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 blah, who cares? They want to give you their money.
Yeah,
It's your
I
job.
have an example this morning. My conversation in the car. This client, net new logo, so like a new business came into my client's Salesforce instance, and we're trying to track attribution. The client in the marketing automation system, and in this instance they use HubSpot, warmed up and have been receiving emails from marketing since January 2024. When I go into Salesforce, the contact was created in May of 2024. So there's like a lot, right? We have a gap now, and opened like 5 opportunities, and the opportunities all closed one. And so now the sales team is saying, hey, this person randomly wrote us and said they want to talk to us, and now we have, let's call it $100,000 in revenue.
Exactly.
That is not true. So we go back to the marketing automation system, and we can see that the person has been warming up for the past, let's call it 5-6 months, but they never hit the scoring threshold to get passed through to Salesforce. This person was so interested in buying with them, they just reached out directly to the seller and was just like, hey, I want to buy. But marketing's been warming them for a while. Yeah. So there's such an importance between tracking all of this.
There's a broken, like, and I think that's what I was talking about and referring to, is that there's the old methodology is
Yes.
it's kind of broken, right? Like it really is, because
it's just outdated.
They shouldn't necessarily have to reach a scorecard to be able to. It's based on. So we do a lot of. I shouldn't say that. We do have scoring built in, sort of, but we also have keyword triggers, and it's all
like intent data.
Yeah, right. So that's the intent data is the thing that most people aren't tracking because it's harder to track. It's harder to track, it's harder to set up, it's harder to maintain. People don't understand it, except that the intent data is the thing that they're actually making the sales from, right?
Yeah.
And it actually performs better than a lot of, at least from what I found, it performs better than a lot of the scoring stuff. But that's not always the case. Like that's why I said, like, no 2 businesses are the same. Sometimes scoring really works when you have a certain business model. Sometimes it doesn't work at all.
Enterprise, they want it at the end of the day.
You have to be able to pivot, right? And I feel like that's where there's so many things that are happening out there in this operations world where people are not pivoting. And like you said, they're reactionary
instead of proactive.
Yeah. Instead of being proactive and being ahead of the game, they're just reacting to what is happening around them. Still to this day, this is still happening. And that is a surefire way to never take that next step and move to that next step, and you will stay stagnant, which is crappy, but it happens.
Yeah, I have an example for you. So Apollo, I'm a big fan of Apollo. So there's a woman on LinkedIn. I'm looking at her name so I don't butcher it totally. Zoe Hartsfield. She's in Colorado Springs, Colorado. If you know her, she's great. She has 60,000 followers. She is a perfect example of, like, all my clients used to buy Zoom info from an enterprise standpoint. It's great. It's great. It has its perks. It's not always accurate. And then HubSpot bought Clearbits. And so now Clearbits rolls under HubSpot's umbrella now. Apollo was like not on the map a couple of years ago. And I would say Zoe and a few other people at Apollo, they went hard on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And they built the brand on what I think you're saying is like social at the end of the day, or dark social at the end of the day.
Yep.
And she's an SDR for the company at the end of the day. She is a meeting booker, appointment setter that needs to help the sellers open pipeline at the end of the day.
Right.
And this girl, I'm looking to get her count right. I have 600 mutual connections with her at this point, and she has 60,000 followers. And I think I've been following her when she had like 20. So she's
LinkedIn
doing
works,
amazing.
right? LinkedIn works, people. If you're not there, why not? Yeah, I tell you. I mean, oh man, this has been such a great conversation. And yes, I do actually. I think I'm already following her, but she's Apollo's
She's fabulous.
really cool kind of underdog. Well, I wouldn't even call them an underdog. I just think they're awesome.
They used to be an underdog.
Sometimes the underdogs are the best way to go. Like they have usually, at least
because
from what
they
I
built a fan base.
development teams, right? Their development teams are moving like this, whereas like Zoom Info is like you know, I'll get you a new feature sometime in 2028, and you know,
like 28.
maybe you won't. You know, like it's the big behemoths sometimes don't react or don't move as quickly, right? We were just talking about that, and it happens across the board.
Yeah.
I don't know. This has been
and one other idea I have for you when you were talking is operations. I have like a philosophy on this. So when you're scaling to tens of millions, you're theoretically building a revenue operations department. I don't think a lot of people understand what that is. So maximizing your sales, your marketing, and your customer success efforts in a system with data-backed metrics that you can use to inform and do more cool stuff, build your pipeline, onboard your customers better, etc. I would break that down into multiple pillars under that. So there's MOPS, marketing operations. There's SOPs, standard, like sales operations. There's also another sort of acronym for SOPs. And then there's like biz ops, which I think when you're talking scaling from 200,000 to let's call it 1 million, you're truly doing like business operations for them at the end of the day, I would say. And so that's where that like systems development comes in. Like, what are your system management? Do you have like a CRM? Do you have like a project management tool? Do you have your standard operating procedures mapped out?
That's what I do. She just summed up my job.
Yeah, exactly.
Play too, like because usually when you're at 200,000, you don't have SOPs. You need
and this whole low code, no code, Monday, Notion, Coda. I don't know what you use specifically, but like we could use all of them. ClickUp, Asana. Like there's so much that you can just document it. And I'll just give you one fact. I spoke with the founder before he started his company. It's a live events company. They're PE backed, but they're basically a startup. They're starting from scratch. And so before they got the funding to launch the company, we've been talking. And I was like, if there's anything you should do, please build out your operation system.
Yeah.
Because the minute your PE guys start asking you capacity planning, COGS, revenue, it's going to be a mess because they were buying multiple companies and putting it together into like one bigger company. And I got a call this summer, and this is why I say I love what I do. And he said, we just scored the biggest client ever. And if I thought I would get 5 years from now. He goes, but if I didn't build the operating system to be able to support the standard operating procedure, the PM tools, and hire someone like a Megan to build this out from the beginning, I couldn't have taken on the work at the end of the day because I would have been embarrassed to have it fail at the end of the day.
That's the biggest thing too and I'll tell you right now, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh no, I don't have that, or I have that.
That's okay.
Having 10 or 12 different pieces of software, and it's a hot mess. You are not alone because
yes,
and this, when people come to me, they either have 10 to 12 pieces of software or more
Right.
running
Tech debt, I call.
their tech stack, running their business, and it's all staple gunned and it's like spit
I
and
say
bubble
the
gum
Band-Aid
with
methodology.
Zapier. Yeah, so they're using Zapier, and it's all like, and and it's
It's all
insane.
breaking.
And it's just, well, it's not breaking yet, but when it does break, it's going to be a disaster, right? So
Yeah.
they come to me like that, or they come to me and they have nothing, which I think is a dream come true, because then we can build it from scratch. So
Fresh slate.
the right way, and we don't have to kind of go backwards. But it's not, you're not alone. Like, people either have nothing at all, or they have what they think they should have because everyone told them they need all this stuff, and they have fallen in love with 12, 13, 14, 15 different pieces of software. I had one client that had 22 pieces of software. So if you have more than 3, you're doing something wrong, and
Yeah.
you don't.
Well,
Anyway, I'm just
yeah.
saying.
We
It's not-
have in enterprise they usually
Woo!
have like almost 20, but I would say the 2 things that stick out is tech debt. I'm sure you do this. We do like an audit of
Yep.
all of the systems, and we do these big Miro Figma boarding and nerd out and say like where are all the data points coming in, and this is why the journey puzzle
Puzzle app. It is
Okay.
the coolest workflow map creator I have.
Okay.
It was actually built. They actually had, the guy who built it actually runs a Rev Ops company. And he was finding, Mirror and Figma and all this stuff that just wasn't what they needed.
Perfect.
This
Yeah.
coolest app. I'll send it to you.
Send it to me. Oh my God. Yeah. So tech debt mapping. And then also stop buying systems that do the same thing. You have 3 systems that do the same thing. So
Yes.
waterfall the priorities of, hey, these are the 5 things we want the system to do. And maybe the system can't do all of it, but we'll get you to your first 2.
And this is another huge thing. Okay, first of all, yes, stop buying systems that do the same thing. Just stop buying systems altogether, because
Until you hire someone like
if you
us.
have 10, 12 pieces of software you don't need anymore, because it will break, and you can't track it. And 2, if you don't have SOPs and you don't have a workflow map somewhere that tells you the overall vision of the business and how it all fits together, you don't actually have a workflow or a process. If it lives in someone's head, that is very, very bad. Do not do that. That is just, if that person leaves or gets hit by a bus and you don't have any of this written down anywhere, you are in trouble, because no one is going to be able to pick up where that person left off.
Yeah, I mean, in the news, I'm following the super yacht of the billionaire tycoons off of Italy with the tornado, and I'm like, thank God this guy just like closed out this case, because you imagine if his case wasn't closed, like he was like the lead prosecutor on the case, and this was the celebration for that big case. But it's this, I use the bus thing. If someone got hit by a bus that's a senior executive at your company, and you're having this person carry the Herculean weight of the company on their shoulders, and it is not documented in any sort of paper, cloud, visual, you're in big trouble.
Napkin, like something. Just write it down. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to exist. And then
be updated. It has to get updated.
Oh my God, this has been such a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much. This is so great. I want you to tell everybody where they can find you. Oh, and don't forget to tell people what your new venture, because we were talking about that offline, and I'm super excited. So first of all, tell everybody what you're working on now that they know all about you, and then of course where they can find you so they can reach out and chat with you more.
Sure. So we're working on now, over the summer, we have built a Scaling to Millions program. So it's a 4-pillar program for founders that are, I would say, and the inflection point is they've hit that $1 million-ish mark, and they say, hey, we've gotten this far, but like we can't keep doing it this way or else we're just gonna fall over. So it's 4 pillars. It's brand awareness, systems development, marketing, and sales at the end of the day. And there's an order to sort of what that looks like as you scale. So that is really cool. And that's happening because honestly, so many founders have come to us this summer and said, how can we talk to you? How can we work with you? And we do a lot of our work exclusively in HubSpot and Salesforce. Megan, close your ears. And so I said, how can we take the philosophies that I've learned over the past 25 years in corporate and consulting and bring it to more of our founders? And how can I keep my sort of enterprise business going? Because when it's enterprise, it just gets more sophisticated, more complicated, but the same problems at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. More money. Yeah.
Exactly. And then how can you find me? So I'm post on LinkedIn every day, Stacie Sussman. You can just search me in the toolbar. My company's Rev Up Advisory. Email Stacie, Stacie, at revupadvisory.com. I'm launching a podcast in a few weeks. So stay tuned for that too.
Just like this. Yay! And you know what? We will also drop all of that information in the show notes.
Amazing.
So when you come and watch on the website and see the full version, we'll have all of her contact information there so they can find you. This has been super fun.
Hug.
I know, like, yeah, I love talking to other apps people. I know we're going to give a virtual hug and a high five. And then the next time in Florida, I'm going to have to come find you because apparently I don't do that and I don't see my brand built people enough. Shout out to the brand built team too. I do that every time because if you are a business owner and you are a solopreneur, you are a coach, you own an agency, you own any type of business that is trying to scale on LinkedIn and or just scale your business and you're looking for a community where you can have conversations with other like-minded business owners at your level or above, you should reach out to Darren and Nat, or you can reach out to me and think about joining the Brand Built community because the knowledge and experience that lives inside this community is insane. And
Nat's course, mind blown.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur and business owner, it gets really lonely. It can be very lonely when you own your own business, and this community makes it not lonely. And the friendships I think that I've built inside this community have been like no other.
Nothing short of amazing.
That's right. So that's our pitch for Brand Built. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. And remember, technology is only good when it works, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.